Mike Tyson made over $400 million during his career, yet just a few years later, he was completely broke and buried under millions in debt. Now here's the uncomfortable question that most people avoid thinking about. How does someone make that much money and still lose everything? And even more confusing than that, why do some people earning $50,000 a year quietly build wealth, while others earning 10 times more stay stuck their entire lives? The answer has nothing to do with intelligence or hard work alone, and everything to do with how you think about money. In this video, I'm going to break down 5 powerful money lessons that can completely change how you earn, save, and grow your wealth over time. But here's the catch. These lessons are simple to understand, yet extremely difficult to follow. And that's exactly why most people fail. If you truly understand even one of these ideas, you'll already be ahead of the majority of people financially. 1. You're not fully in control. We all like to believe that success is fully in our control, that if we work hard enough and make the right decisions, we will eventually succeed. But reality doesn't work like that, because luck and timing play a much bigger role in success than most people are willing to admit. Think about someone like Bill Gates, who had access to a computer in high school at a time when even universities didn't have one. That early exposure gave him thousands of hours of practice before almost anyone else in the world had the same opportunity. Now imagine if he had been born in a different place or a different time. His life could have turned out completely differently. The point here is not to discredit hard work, but to understand that success is always a combination of skill, luck, and timing. Most people look at successful individuals and try to copy their actions, without realizing that they are missing the invisible factors behind that success. So instead of trying to control everything, focus on what you actually can control: your consistency, your decisions, and your ability to stay in the game long enough. Because the longer you stay in the game, the higher your chances of benefiting from luck when it shows up. 2. Getting rich versus staying rich. Making money and keeping money are two completely different skills, yet most people treat them as if they are the same thing. To get rich, you often need to take risks, make bold decisions, and chase opportunities that others are too afraid to pursue. But once you have money, the rules change completely, because now your goal is no longer to win big, but to avoid losing what you've already built. A lot of people fail at this stage because they continue taking the same aggressive risks that helped them get rich in the first place. This is why we often hear stories of celebrities, athletes, and entrepreneurs who made millions, only to lose everything later. The same behavior that creates wealth can also destroy it if you don't adjust your mindset at the right time. True financial success comes from knowing when to shift from growth mode into protection mode. Because building wealth is important, but keeping it is what actually gives you long-term security and peace of mind. 3. Money is freedom, not status. Most people think money is about buying better things, like a nicer car, a bigger house, or a more expensive lifestyle. But in reality, money is not about what you can buy. It's about the freedom it gives you in your life. Imagine having a job that drains your energy every single day, but you can't leave because you have no savings to support yourself. Now compare that to someone who has built even a small financial cushion, giving them the ability to walk away without fear. The difference between these two people is not income, it's freedom. Money gives you the ability to say no, to make decisions without desperation, and to choose the kind of life you actually want to live. If your lifestyle depends entirely on your next paycheck, then no matter how much you earn, you are still financially fragile. Real wealth is not about showing others what you have. It's about creating a life where you are not forced to do things you don't want to do. 4. Wealth is what you don't see. We live in a world where people constantly show off their lifestyle, making it seem like wealth is all about visible success. You see expensive cars, luxury vacations, and designer clothes, and it creates the illusion that spending equals wealth. But the truth is, when you see someone spending money, you have no idea how much they actually have left. Wealth is not what you see, it's what you don't see. It's the savings, the investments, and the assets quietly growing in the background, without any attention. There are people who look average on the outside, but are financially secure enough to never worry about money again. And then there are people who look rich on the outside, but are actually struggling behind the scenes. Looking rich is easy because it only requires spending. But being rich requires discipline and long-term thinking. If you focus on impressing others, you delay your own financial progress without even realizing it. 5. Emotions control your money. Most people think financial success is about knowledge, but in reality, it's more about behavior and emotional control. Even if you know exactly what to do with your money, it doesn't matter if your emotions take over at the wrong moment. For example, when markets are rising, people feel confident and invest more, often at the worst possible time. But when markets fall, fear takes over, and they panic and sell, locking in their losses permanently. This cycle repeats again and again, not because people are unaware, but because they can't control their emotions. The best financial strategy is not the one that looks perfect on paper, but the one you can stick to consistently over time. If your plan causes stress or anxiety, you are more likely to abandon it when things get difficult. That's why being reasonable with your money is far more important than trying to be perfectly rational, because in the long run, consistency always beats perfection. Let's quickly recap the 5 lessons that can completely change your financial life if you apply them correctly. You are not fully in control, so focus on consistency instead of perfection. Making money and keeping money require different mindsets, and knowing when to switch is critical. Money is not about status, it's about freedom and having control over your choices. Wealth is invisible, and the money you don't spend is often more important than the money you do. And finally, your emotions will always influence your financial decisions. So building a system you can stick to is essential. At the end of the day, it's not about how much you earn, it's about how much you keep and how long you can keep it. Because true wealth is not just having money, it's having the freedom to live life on your own terms. If you understood this, you're already ahead of most people. And that's exactly how long-term wealth begins. Mike Tyson made over $400 million during his career. Yet just a few years later, he was completely broke and buried under millions in debt. Now here's the uncomfortable question that most people avoid thinking about. How does someone make that much money and still lose everything? And even more confusing than that, why do some people earning $50,000 a year quietly build wealth, while others earning 10 times more stay stuck their entire lives? The answer has nothing to do with intelligence or hard work alone, and everything to do with how you think